Hey friends, this is Soul with a practical guide to get you geared in patch 10.1, whether you're slamming world content or pushing keys to the highest levels. Hit the like button, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live on Twitch, and here's what we're going to cover. We're going to start with the most important takeaways to remember, like the golden rules, and then the guide will be split into two parts. We're going to brush through basic gearing through world and zone content, and then get right down to what are the optimal paths to gearing up through endgame content. So let's begin with the most important things to remember. First is that there's a new upgrade system being introduced to this season, and most of the guide is going to cover how to navigate it most efficiently. However, keep the following in mind. The way that gear drops has not changed. Normal raids are still going to drop normal gear. The weekly dungeon event will still drop heroic raid gear that you already have. Doing a plus 15 will get you an appropriate reward at the end of the dungeon and hopefully something good in the vault the following week. So nothing has changed on these fronts. What's been added is a system that gives you more options with these drops outside of just having to farm for entirely new gear. Second, take a look. This is the UI that you access when talking with an upgrade NPC. You can find them in Valdrakken or in any other place where you see similar NPCs like in Oribos or your Covenant Sanctum. The UI is like your first and last line of defense to make clear what you need to upgrade your gear. Here I have some champion gear loaded up, and you can see there that I'm short on certain crests. Mousing over these icons will not only identify what it is that I need, but exactly where and how to get it. The WoW team made it pretty easy for you to see at a glance where you're at and what to do, and before you know it, it's going to feel like second nature. And it's because of this UI that, honestly, I'm going to use it as an excuse to not over-explain how gear upgrades work in this guide. I guarantee that otherwise it would be a lot of information overload. I will have my handy-dandy item level charts available in the video description for you to use, but the UI can answer your immediate questions real time. I'm just here to, kind of raise your aptitude and prepare you for what's to come. Third point is to understand the general idea of crest fragments. They're content appropriate, so the higher the crest, the harder the activity is to get it. With regards to raids, you can get anywhere between 95 and 110 fragments from a full clear. That's because you get 10 per boss, and according to the WoW team, you're going to get 15 off of, quote, end bosses. I'm not sure if end bosses means that it's just the one boss at the very end, or the last boss of each of the 4 wings, like in Raid Finder. For Mythic Plus, clearing a dungeon at all will get you 5 crest fragments, and timing it will get you 12. In every situation, you're going to need 15 fragments to make any given crest, so as you collect crest fragments, just make it a habit to turn them into crests right away. That way, when it's time to upgrade, you're not going to trick yourself into thinking that you don't have enough when actually you just forgot to make them. And real quick on flight stones, it's a kind of universal currency used to upgrade gear, and it's plentiful enough that you can almost freely spend it, just don't recklessly waste it. It's found doing most any content in Season 2, and in the majority of cases you shouldn't find yourself running short. To make sure though, I only suggest spending it if you're nearing the cap so you don't waste any of that drop. Caps like this can feel frustrating, I get it, but I suspect it's because the WoW team doesn't want a repeat of Cosmic Flux, where players end up hoarding a bunch of it on one character and then complain that it can't be traded to their alts. And that's why discounts also exist, but I'm going to mention that later. There are what I'm going to call 5 classes of gear: Explorer, Adventurer, Veteran, Champion, and Hero gear, all of which can be upgraded. This gear is not exclusive to any specific activity. Virtually all PvE gear in Season 2 can be upgraded, and is upgraded the same way, just along different difficulty tracks. Notice here real quick that the maximum item level of Champion gear isn't all that much lower than maximum Hero gear. I'm going to get back to that later. There is a 6th class of gear that is basically mythic gear, and those can't be upgraded. This gear is found by running, of course, the toughest content, like mythic raids, plus 20 keys, but we're not there. Not yet. Before we move on, I gotta take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Ridge. I've been sporting their very sleek and stylish wallets for about a year now, and I'm partnering up with them again to showcase their wallet and key case bundle. You can go to ridge.com/soul and use code SOUL to get 10% off your purchase. The wallet is a solid piece of work made of military grade materials. It comes in a ton of styles, including this one called Forged Ember, which is my subtle way of saying for the horde. Cards go out, cards go back in, nice and easy. and the key case is very cool. You just push the keys out, there's no jangles or tangles inside your pocket, but you still have that giant key fob, but whatever. So help yourself out with a deal and go over to ridge.com/soul, check out what they've got, and use code SOUL to save 10% off your purchase. You got a full 99 days to check it out, and if you don't like it, return it for a full refund, so what have you got to lose? Check them out and give them a try. We're going to start from the bottom and work our way towards maxing our item level with just world content. Here's what the undergeared player or alt can do straight away, even during this first week of Season 2. First is to run the Zone campaign. Most of it should be available by now, and it's going to earn you an almost full set of Explorer level gear. It's not that great, starting at item level 376, but with Flight Stones this gear can be quickly upgraded to an item level of 395. There is more gear to get, so don't act too hastily with upgrading just yet. A weekly quest called A Worthy Ally gives some big rewards, including higher-end Adventurer or Veteran gear, which is way better than Explorer gear. You can also get some strong gear randomly off of rares and treasures throughout Zeralik Cavern. The world boss drops champion gear, which is going to be hard to upgrade because you'll need certain kinds of crests that are hard to come by without going into a raid or a dungeon. There's also a zone event to help the Dragon Scale expedition that may drop higher level gear, crests, and flight stones. And then there's the Farak assaults with loot boxes and quests to give even more gear. Farming world content alone will get you well into the item level 390s after repeated visits to the upgrade NPC, and conveniently, item level 390 will make you eligible for raid finder difficulty and a regular source of veteran gear. I suggest saving your upgrades exclusively for these, as I suspect that veteran gear is the minimum class of gear eligible to be used in the Revival Catalyst, which will be available the week of June 13th to help complete their tier set bonuses. There is a chance that high-level Explorer gear can work too, because their item level technically overlaps with veteran gear, just keep that in mind. Crests for veteran and champion gear are going to be harder to come by for the world content kind of player, so to help out, there is a vendor in Loam who sells boxes of fragments that you can buy once per week. To buy these, complete the public events that happen throughout Zeralik Cavern, and earn some currency that's used to buy the fragments that you want. The best gear off world content means to get champion gear off the world boss and maybe Farak Assault, and collecting a full set of veteran gear by opening chests off the weekly, Sniff and Seek, and the Dragon Scale Expedition event. The crest that'll get you the maximum upgrades will mostly be found by grinding public events to buy fragments, and each kill of a rare in the new zone drops a single fragment. Nearly all of your gear will peak at item level 424 until we learn of another source of higher level crests that don't require endgame content. Crafting will play a role in top end gearing too, even for world content. Every 2 weeks you'll be able to get a Spark of Shadowflame that effectively means an item level 424 piece of gear, so choose your crafted slots wisely. The campaign will eventually ask you to complete the new raid, and raid finder counts of course, and that scores you an enchanted crest. It's a reagent that lets you upgrade crafted gear even higher to item level 437. You get another enchanted crest by maxing out your renown with the Niffin, making what'll be your 2 highest item level pieces of gear. Now let's cover the grizzled veteran who's constantly engaged with the game. You might be a Keystone Master, Top Raider, Keystone Hero, whatever. But whatever the case, you're starting from a much higher item level, so I'm gonna cut to the chase and we'll just tell you what's the optimum way to gear up. What is the best use of your time, and why, without trying to hold your hand too much. There are 2 of what I'm going to call farming spots in Season 2. The first one falls along the range of +9 to +11 keys, which is meant to be the same as normal difficulty raids. Now this is where you're going to earn champion gear, upgradable all the way to item level 437, and I'm willing to bet that the majority of players are going to be wearing these, only to replace them with gear from like the Vault or Mythic raids. Farming the raid on normal will get you a round of champion gear and the crest to go with it, and that's great. In fact, raid drops are very easy to understand, so I'll describe it really quick. Raid Finder will drop veteran gear. Normal, as I said earlier, drops champion gear. Heroic drops hero gear, and Mythic drops, the classless Mythic gear. Naturally, you'll sometimes get gear from the raid, but you'll always get crest fragments per boss kill to ensure that at the end of the week, you're either going to get new gear or at least get the crests that let you upgrade gear that you already have. The downside, of course, is that you only get 1 shot at raid gear per week. A good number of you are also going to farm for gear from dungeons, and +9s are the easiest keys to run to get starter champion gear. Keep in mind that at a plus 9, you're only working with 2 affixes, either Fortified or Tyrannical, or any of these periodic affixes. You won't see a third affix until plus 14 and higher keys. Champion gear is just much better to farm for than hero gear because of the small item level difference, but also the much higher key requirement to get hero gear from a dungeon run. It's a lot of effort for a very small gain, and running 9s will get you hero gear from the Great Vault anyway, go figure. As you're gearing up, I say run 9s until you have all champion gear, including a few best in slot items within this gear class. But I also said to run 11s. That's because you can get more powerful crest fragments by at least running 11s. So refer back to your UI when you're looking at champion gear, and you're going to see right here, run 11s for the fragments that you need. Here's what's also very cool. These crests that you're earning from running 11s can be turned into enchanted crests that can be used for your crafted gear. Here's a very real world scenario that you can pull off like the first day of the season if you're a pro. You should have a Shadowflame Spark to make a piece of gear. If you can get 45 of these fragments running 11s, you can get this enchanted crest made to have a piece of item level 437 gear. Maybe I'm underestimating how difficult it'll be to time 4 plus 11s, but that's really all it takes. Considering the campaign questline, you can also clear the raid on normal difficulty once to get this same kind of crest. Then you'll have 2 pieces of 437 gear within like the first week. So run 9s for gear, 11s for crests to fully upgrade your champion gear and for higher level crafting. You'll want to go back and forth between these levels to get what you need. Meanwhile, you're learning the dungeons, getting more skilled and capable of pushing much higher than just 9s and 11s. So once you feel satisfied with your gear, you can start dipping your toes into plus 16s. You're now going to start dealing with the third affix, reactionary affixes that proc on mob death or low health, but you're now also able to get item level 441s from the Great Vault when you clear these 16s, and more importantly, even higher level fragments that, again, can be turned into better crafting reagents to get your crafted gear to an item level of 447. You're going to need more crests than you did before, so you're going to need to run anywhere between 5 and 12 plus 16s for one piece of 447 gear. This is still much better than last season, where you had to run exactly 10 plus 16s or higher in order to get what you need to make a primal infusion. That's why I consider this to be the second major farming spot that you'll hang out in until you max out all of your champion and hero gear, and you have a few 447 pieces thanks to crafting. When you feel comfortable, you can start creeping up to the 20s if you haven't done so already, and I guess that 20s would be the sort of last farming spot to hang out at for the sake of getting 447s from the vault, complemented with crafted 447s. From this point, I still advise farming 9s if you're trying to go for like a specific best in slot trinket, but then after that, not worry about it so much and just push your keys as high as you can. I'll mention upgrade discounts here in the back. The rules are fairly simple. In any given slot, you only need crests to upgrade gear when trying to get to an item level that you've never reached before in that slot. So let's say it's the beginning of the season. I have crap gear and want to upgrade a piece of adventurer gear. It's eventually going to ask for crests because the gear that I've had is low. On the other hand, let's say that one day I get an item level 450 helmet from the vault, but I'm not happy with its stats and I'm willing to replace it with something else even if it's a lower item level. So going forward, if I happen to see another helmet and decide to upgrade it, I will not have to ever use a crest to upgrade that helmet. Upgrading lower gear also activates a 50% Flightstone discount, and this particular discount applies account-wide. Your alts, though, are still gonna be subject to getting crests. So here's the TLDR. The upgrade UI gives solid information, so rely on it. World content players can work their way towards item level 424 by doing all the new content and applying upgrades and crafted gear. Pure raiders and raid loggers are going to see that they're going to get gear and the resources needed to upgrade gear that they already have. For optimal and easy high-end gearing, farm 9s for gear, 11s for resources and crafting materials, and then farm 16s for better resources until you're comfortable enough to push for Keystone Hero. Long-term, players shouldn't worry too much about discounts or weekly caps on crests, which I didn't even talk about because like only a few dozen people are going to really notice that. And that's the guide. I hope it helped, and if you have specific questions, I'm happy to answer them in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe for more coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.